me just start off by saying, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell in the corner over there, so you know each time I release one of these videos, and so that we can make more content like this. And if you like our content and you would like more exclusive content, amazing discounts off our web store, or if you like what we do here and you'd just like to support the channel, then head over to glasshammergaming.co.uk and join the elite. Right, guys, let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to run you through the way that I've been running my Troop Master, my Shadowseer, and also my Death Jester, my three main characters in my Harlequins army. They've all got Warlord traits, they've all got relics, they've all got the pivotal roles as well. They're all armed to the teeth, and this is how I've been running them. And if you guys have your own way of running your characters, ways that you've been trying out the new Harlequins characters, please leave them in the comments below for everybody to share, and also so that I can, steal some of your ideas too. So to start off with, we've got a Troop Master. Now, what do we want from our Troop Master? I think now we want our Troop Master to go out there and kill something. I think that's the first thing you got to ask yourself is, what do you want from him? And personally, I don't think he's a great force multiplier anymore, because, there's still a pivotal role there where he can give all core units within 6 inches +1 to charge. But I think that doesn't work anymore because his role is different in the army now. Before, so what's happened is his choreographer of war ability has changed. Before, all Harlequins units within 6 inches of him had full rerolls to wound with melee attacks. That has now changed to core units get reroll 1s to wound. So, when you're strength 3 and strength 4 on the majority of your combat units, you're going to be wounding things on 4s and 5s. Now, if you're wounding on 4s and 5s and you're only rerolling your 1s, it's a big difference to if you were rerolling everything. So I don't think anymore he's needed to run around and buff units. I don't think the reroll 1s to wound is that big. Of course, if he's got the chance to go in with a unit or two, he always should. But he's not necessarily needed to be used for that anymore. Before, you could give your Troop Master like nothing and just have him running around with troop units, giving them full rerolls to wound. And that's what he was for, a force multiplier. Now, he's not that great as a force multiplier, so we want him to be like a smash character of his own. So how are we going to achieve that? First of all, let's have a look at his Warlord traits. What Warlord traits can we give him? Actually, no. We're going to start with his Relic, because his Relic ups his stats, and then his Warlord traits and Relics just add, Warlord traits and pivotal rolls just add to that. So let's start off with the Relic, and we've given him the Kegerax Rose. Now, the Kegerax Rose gives the bearer +2 strength, AP -2, and damage 3, flat damage 3. It's a Harlequin's kiss. It replaces a kiss. So you give him a kiss. He's only 90 points at the moment, and then he's normally got 6 attacks, and now you've made him strength 5 -2, flat 3 damage. Very, very strong. But then also the one thing that the Kegerax Rose does give you as well is it gives you full rerolls to wound with melee attacks with the Kegerax Rose. So it's flat 3 damage, and he's strength 5, rerolling all of his foul wound rolls. So he's gonna do a lot of damage already. So we can already see where his damage is coming from, especially when he's got 6 attacks. Just a little 90-point model with 6 attacks of that profile. But then we look at his Warlord traits. So the first one is Player of the Light. Now you might think, why would you go Player of the Light? You've already got the Kegerax Rose and stuff like that. But it's for one cool reason. The first thing is he can only intervene 6 inches instead of 3 inches. That's nice. It's not crucial, but it's nice to have, because you have a stratagem that allows a unit to only intervene 6 inches anyway. So it's not like you need this absolutely in your army, but it's nice to have. And being able to only intervene 6 inches in 2 different places is a great threat to have in your back pocket. But the main reason we take it is the second half of the Player of the Light ability means that each time he charges, he gets +1 to his attacks and +1 to his strength characteristic. So now we've gone from 6 attacks to 7 attacks, which is good, but we've gone from strength 5 to strength 6, which in the current meta of toughness 5 Custodian Infantry, toughness 5 Crisis Battlesuits, and toughness 6 Custodes Virtus Praetors, that's a great change. Going from strength 5 to strength 6, absolutely huge. You're now wounding Custodes Infantry and Crisis Battlesuits on 3s with full rerolls, and you're wounding Custode Bikers Virtus Praetors on 4s with full rerolls. This makes him an absolute beatstick on his own. So +1 attack, +1 strength, +2 strength of the Kegerax Rose, -2 AP, flat 3 damage, full rerolls to wound. He's already kicking some serious butt. Now, The cool thing about him is the Troop Master can be your Warlord, and then he can have 2 Warlord traits. So what you do is you also give him a foot in the future on top of that. A foot in the future is brilliant for him because, like we said, we want him to be a beat stick. Now, for him to be a beat stick, he's got to get there. So he's going to be in a Star Weaver, of course, you know, with some troop. But then, basically, what a foot in the future does is it gives him D3 plus 3-inch advances instead of D6-inch advances. So he gets 3 inches out of his Star Weaver. Then he moves 8 inches. So he's gone 11 now. Even if he rolls a 1 on his advance, it's D3 plus 1. It's 1 plus 3 because it's D3 plus 3. So even if you roll a 1, it's plus 3 and he's a 4-inch advance. So he's got out 3. He's then moved 8, so he's gone 11 inches. Then he's advanced 4 inches, so he's gone 15 inches out of the boat. And then he rolls a charge from there. And a foot in the future doesn't just give you D3 plus 3-inch advances. It also gives you plus 6 to your charge rolls. Plus 6. That means if he rolls a 5, that counts as an 11, and he's just charged something within 12 inches of him. So he's making maximum range charges less than averagely. Like, on average, he should make it all the time, pretty much, which I think when you've got a CP reroll and things like that, I think you're gonna get him in a lot of the time. So now he's just an absolute monster. I think that's the best way, personally, to tool up a Troop Master that I've seen. Personally, if you think of any others, let me know in the comments, guys, like I just said. And the final thing is, I give him the Queen of Shards. It's like 20 points or 25 points pivotal roll, and it means each time he rolls a wound roll of a 5+, the target can't take an invulnerable save against that. So that when he's wounding on, when he's wounding things on like 3s or 4s with full rerolls, you can just, if you're fishing against something that's got a 4-up invuln and that's their best save, they don't have an armor or anything, or other Harlequin players and they got 4-up invulnerables, you just go, well, okay, I'm going to reroll everything that's not a 5. And he should get 3 or 4 wounds on a 5+ anyway with full rerolls. And at that point, it's 12 damage with no invulnerable saves. So that's how I'm loading up my Troop Master. Let's have a look at what we've done with the Shadowseer. Now, quite the opposite to my Troop Master, guys. My Shadowseer is a force multiplier. He is there to buff units. He's not there to do massive amounts of damage. And I don't think you can really kit your Shadowseer out to do massive amounts of damage, to be fair, especially not more than a Troop Master. So you would always want to pick those relics and warlord traits that do damage on your Troop Master over your Shadowseer, because, like we say, his profile's not that spectacular and he's just not going to do what a Troop Master can do in combat. So let's see what he can do. Now, his innate ability, Shield from Harm, is an aura and is great. It means all Harlequins core units within 6 inches of the Shadowseer are -1 to be wounded. Just always. So that's range attacks, melee attacks, everything. You've got your troop standing next to your, your Shadowseer, and all of a sudden you go into a mirror match against other troop and they've got Harlequin's blades, and then instead of winning you on 4s, they now win you on 5s because you're -1 to wound. So I think it's very big, that ability in its own. Being -1 to wound on all your core units, that is huge. So from that one ability, we can say, right, he's got this one ability that helps him be a massive force multiplier, and he helps the other things in your army. So what we need to do now is, because that one thing is worth taking him, let's see how many other force multiplying buffs we can put on him to make him even better for the army overall. Now, the first thing you can do is a really basic thing, and that's you can give him the Webway Dance power. It's cast on a 7, so sometimes it's not going to go off, sometimes it is. When you've got rerolls, it becomes quite reliable then. It's an average roll with rerolls, so you should get it off more times than you shouldn't. And basically, what that says is every Harlequin's, Sadath unit within 6 inches gets a 6-up feel no pain. So that means every time you take a wound on a unit within 6 inches, after you failed your save, you take the damage, and then you can roll a dice for each wound that you would lose, and on a 6+, you don't lose that wound. It's like another save after your invulnerable save. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And also, it doesn't say core units this time. It just says Harlequin Sadath units. So that's like your Void Weavers, guys, your Transport Star Weavers, your Void Weaver gunboats. All of these units within 6 inches of the Shadowseer are going to have a 6-up feel no pain to shrug those extra wounds off that they don't really want to take, which I think is fantastic. I think that's a great ability to have there. So you just put that on him. Then the other main thing is Mirror Architect. You can pay 25 points. 25 points or 30 points? I think it might be 20. I think it's 25 points, yes. So you can pay 25 points to give him the Mirror Architect pivotal roll. And that is insane. It means each time an enemy unit makes a ranged attack against one of your Sadath units within 6 inches of your Shadowseer. Again, just Sadath units. So this again can be Star Weavers, Void Weavers, anything you want. And each time an enemy unit makes a ranged attack against one of your Sadath units that are within 6 inches of your Shadowseer, you count as being, your Sadath units count as being an additional 6 inches away from the enemy units. Now, the key thing to note there is it doesn't just say reduce the range of the weapons by 6 inches. It says you count as being an additional 6 inches away. So what that means, for example, let me just explain why that's so important. So let's go with Tau. Tau have got these crisis suit units, right? Now they're flamers. If their flamers have a 12-inch range, but then against you, whichever way you look at it, whether you go reduce the range of the weapon by 6 inches, their range would go down to 6 inches. Or if you count as being an additional 6 inches away, then that means if they're within just about within 7 of you, they're actually within 13 of you, so they're out of range. So both of those, it doesn't matter which way it's worded for the range of the weapon, it's going to be reduced by 6 inches regardless. But what it does matter for is abilities like Exemplar of the Mon-Ka. Now, you can put Exemplar of the Mon-Ka on a crisis unit, and then when they shoot at a target that is within 9 inches of them, they get full rerolls to wound. Now, that's the key thing there. So even though the Flamers, they'd be out of range regardless, that ability wouldn't be. If you were just reducing the range of your weapons by 6 inches, then that ability would stay at 9 inches full rerolls to wound. But because you count as being an additional 6 inches away, it means that unit, even if they're just within 9 of you, they actually count as being within 15 of you. You count as being 15 inches away from them, which means the Mon-Ka ability wouldn't work unless they were within 3 inches of you. Then the 6 makes it 9. So you're cutting 6 inches off the range of all these abilities that people get as well, and that's why that's so big. So Mirror Architect is a must. Shield Farm Arm is fantastic, and Webway Dance, it just gives you 3 auras of the same character that are so big. Now, going with that, the relic we're going to give him is the Shadowstone. So that's what I'll be giving him, the Shadowstone, because it increases the range of all of his aura abilities by 3 inches, but also each time he casts a power, the range and the abilities of that power increase by 3 inches as well. So then his Shield from Harm, his Mirror Architect, and his Webway Dance all have a 9-inch aura. Units within 9 inches get access to all 3 of those buffs. So that is how we tool up our Shadowseer. Now, of course, you can give him a Warlord trait. The Warlord traits aren't that great for him. What I've done is I've given mine the Fractal Storm, because occasionally somebody can get like one guy with a melter closest to your character, and they can do that, at some point throughout the game, and then they can maybe try and pop shot him. Well, Fractal Storm says each time an attack is made against this Warlord, the opponent cannot reroll the hit roll, the wound roll, or the damage roll. So you go, well, you can only hit me on 4s anyway if you're outside of 12 inches. So you can only hit me on 4s anyway. Then you cannot reroll the hit roll. And then you're going to wound me on 2s or 3s, and you cannot reroll the wound roll. And then if I fail my invulnerables, you've got to roll a 5 on the damage, and you're not allowed to reroll your damage roll. So he becomes even harder to kill. And I think a character like that, who's using his relic, his warlord trait, and his pivotal role, his relic, his pivotal role, and his powers to kind of buff the rest of your army, he's so important that if you can put a warlord trait on him that makes him harder to kill, you should definitely do it. So that's how I've tooled up my Shadowseer. Remember, if you've tooled up your Shadowseer any differently, let me know in the comments below. And now finally, let's have a look at the Death Jester. This is my favorite one because he's cool. So finally, guys, we're on to our Death Jester. How are we tooling up the Death Jester? So let's have a look at his stats first of all. So he has 3 shots. This guy is not a combat character. He is a shooting character. So he's going to sit in a boat normally. The boat's going to whiz around. Even after your troops get out, the boat's going to whiz around, fire its 2 shuriken cannons off somewhere. Then he's going to be inside with his shriek cannon, firing that off somewhere. And it just becomes like this little gunboat platform that goes around. And I think it's actually quite spectacular what you can do with it. So let's have a look at him first of all. He hits on 2s and he has 3 shots. He's got a 30-inch range, and his weapon has now gone to strength 6 minus 2 damage. I think that's fantastic. Strength 6 minus 2 damage. And he can ignore the lookout sir rule when he picks his targets for his ranged attacks. So he can snipe characters with 3 shots hitting on 2s, strength 6 minus 2 damage. That will really hurt characters. But it doesn't just stop there. So what do we do first of all? What we do is we pay 15 points to give him the Harvester of Torment pivotal role. Now the Harvester of Torment pivotal role states that each time he rolls a unmodified hit roll of a 6, it scores 3 additional hits. So that means every 6 is 4 hits, not 1, because it's 3 additional hits on top of the fact that you rolled a 6. So you roll your dice and you go, right, he's rolled a 6, so the 6 hits, and then he gets 1, 2, 3 additional hits. So every 6 is 4 hits. Now he's only got 3 shots, but a 6 will be 4 hits. That'll just be spectacular. So you got to realize as well that 50% of the time you should roll a 1. But then, you know, even if you get 2 hits, that's fine. But then 50% of the time you should roll a 6 anyway. So that 6 should be 4 hits, and then your others are hitting on 2s anyway. So that should be like 5 or 6 hits, which is pretty damn good. So 50% of the time you're going to get like 2 or 3 hits, and 50% of the time you're going to get like 6 hits. But that's just with that. So how can we go, right, I don't want 0 to 3 hits averagely. I want more than that pretty much every time I shoot. How do we do that? What you do is you pay a CP and you give him the Favor of Kegarak Warlord trait. Now, the Favor of Kegarak is amazing. What it says is once per turn, only once per turn, but once per turn after rolling a hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, or saving throw, I believe it is, you can treat the result as being an unmodified 6. An unmodified 6, that's the key bit. So when he makes one of his hit rolls, you can treat one of those dice as being a 6 and just get 4 hits off it. So what this means now, guys, remember I was saying 50% of the time you're going to roll a 1, and then you've only got 2 hits. Now imagine that 50% of the time when you roll a 1, you've got 2 hits, then you change the 1 to a 6. You count the 1 as being a 6. So the 1 is also 4 hits now. 1 goes from being a miss to being 4 hits. So you've actually got 6 hits. So the 50% of the time you're going to roll a 1, you're actually going to get 6 hits on the enemy. But the 50% of the time that you roll a 6, you change another dice to a 6, and you've got 9 hits on the enemy from 3 shots. So he starts off with 3 shots, and he averages 6 or 9 hits. 6 to 9 hits every turn, hitting, hits 6 to 9 hits every turn, a strength 6, -2, flat 2 damage, ignoring Lookout Sir. So that is what our Death Jester does. But there's another key thing about him, because of course, if you can pick a character off with him, you go for it. But if you're ever in a situation when you can't pick off a character and you go, right, I need to go for a squad now. Well, if he gets 6 to 9 hits on a squad, at strength 6 -2, 2 damage, he'll kill 3 or 4 models from that squad. And when he does, he's also got an ability on his datasheet, which means that each model that dies to a ranged attack from a Death Jester counts as 2 for the purposes of morale. So imagine he turns around and kills 3 Vanguard veterans, but then he goes, your leadership is actually -6, not -3, because each model counts as 2 for morale. So you subtract 6 of your leadership when you roll your morale, and then on like a 3+, you're going to lose more Vanguard. You're going to lose a 30-point Vanguard veteran model. I think that's a great ability. So he's got a great ability. You pay for the Harvester of Torment, a pivotal roll, and then you give him the Favor of Kegarak Warlord trait, and he's ready to go. Now, of course, you can put a relic on him if you want to. I did. So you could put the Laughing God's Eye on him, which is what I did. Now, obviously, you could take something else on him, or you could take nothing at all, because he's not really going to get into danger if you don't want him to. He's going to sit in his boat comfortably at range, and he's just going to shoot from 30 inches away every turn. Now, I gave mine the Laughing God's Eye, because I think in certain matchups it's needed, and he's a character that doesn't really need a relic. So you can put it on him, and in certain games you can use him as a force multiplier, again, rather than just a shooting unit. And those are games like Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, the armies that can pump out mortal wounds, Crusher Stampede when they can charge into mortals on impact. Against armies like that, I think the Laughing God's Eye is very big. What it means is all Harlequin units within 6 inches of him have a 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. That means each time they would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, they roll a dice, and on a 5 or a 6, they do not lose that wound. And I think it's key to have, because mortal wounds have always been Harlequin's weakness, and you've got this one little plug to minimize that a little bit. You should take it, because you're only paying 1 CP. I know it's situational, but to pay 1 CP on your army roster, and just in case you play a mortal heavy army, to negate 3 or 4 mortal wounds every single turn could be absolutely huge. So definitely just do that on any, this is not just Death Jester specific, guys, on any character that you've got that doesn't have a relic, bang that on him and give yourself a chance when you play mortal wound heavy armies. So there you have it, guys. That is the video. We've gone through Troop Masters, Shadowseers, Death Jesters, how we've been tooling them up to get the most efficiency out of them. And like I say, if you've got another way that you've been tooling up these characters, please leave them in the comments below for everybody to share and grow together. And right, guys, if you've watched the video to here and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, notifications bell in the corner over there, so you know each time we release one of these videos. And until next time, guys, play loads of Warhammer 40k, test out the Harlequins, and tell me how they got on. See you later, guys. Edited Warhammer 40k battle reports, live stream Warhammer 40k games, meta-analysis, tournament reports. Hi guys, I'm Manny. I am one of the co-founders of Glasshammer Gaming. I'm one of the current top 5 ranked ITC players in the world, and I play for my international team, Team England, and we are the current reigning world champions. So we started Glasshammer Gaming at the start because we play a very high level, and we realized that a lot of content creators online were more narrative and not really focused on the competitive aspect of the game, and we thought it'd be really cool if we made battle reports, live streams and tactics videos to help players improve in their competitive game, and also for people who are looking to start getting into competitive play, help them along the way and give them some tips. We also have an elite service, and if you join up, you get more in-depth meta-analysis, competitive tournament reports, and even bigger discounts on our store, which are incredible in the first place, and you're basically getting some of the best discounts in the world. If you join up, you also get access to our Discord server, where there are lots of like-minded people who also want to be very competitive and play to the best of their ability, and you'll be added in there with all of them. There are different channels for every army, every faction, so you can talk to other players who play the same armies as you and improve together.